All right, everybody. Well, welcome to the Talk of the Town with me, Lynn About Town, here in sunny Clearwater. Well, I am here with my good friend, Jason Good. He's a good friend.
Absolutely.
And Jason is an amazing guy. We are like-minded on a lot of issues. And the main, most important issue is drug prevention, drug rehabilitation, telling the truth about drugs so that people avoid it altogether, but if they don't, Jason has answers. So welcome, Jason.
Thank you for having me. I like that we do this periodically. I get to come on here and discuss what's going on out there.
Excellent. And let's say, so Jason and I had just a quick chat when we were getting ready. We're going to talk about your event, but also I want to talk about what you were telling me statistically. What are the statistics on drug use? Now we're talking any drugs.
Drugs, just prescription drugs, street drugs, everything. Right now, the statistics are between about 1 in 2 people are on drugs right now.
1 in 2. So the drug-free life.
Right. And what's also lumped in there is 1 in 2 people also know someone who has addiction issues as well. So the statistics right now are pretty startling with drug use is kind of at it's almost at a new high, despite all the effort that's been put into handling the drug crisis and education, rehabilitation, and stuff like that. So if you step back and look at it, we've done a lot of good in the world of rehab. Like people are getting clean, people are doing better. There's more groups out there educating people about the truth about drugs, and there's more information in the hands of the public. But even with all of that energy being put towards it, we're still where we're at, which means if you look at how much effort was needed to get us to this point, and the epidemic is still the way it is, how much effort is really necessary to eradicate the problem completely? It's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
And so you got to start small,
Yeah.
meaning it's easy to think that I or you or whoever as an individual can't do anything about the drug problems. I'm just me, I'm one person. But if everyone takes that mentality, nothing's going to get done. So we all have to switch and say, me, myself, I as an individual can actually do something. I can educate myself. I can pass information to someone I know who has a family member that's struggling or that's struggling themselves. So we all need to get in the mindset that there's absolutely things we can do. It's not all bleak. It's not all bad news.
Right. And it's not all impenetrable. You can make a difference.
Yeah, you can fix it. You can start to handle it. But it starts with each person actually getting the data, passing it forward, and going on from there. And for people who are, in a situation where they themselves are addicts and haven't gotten handled, or they have a family member who's failed multiple times, know that there's still other things out there that you can do.
True.
To handle the entire situation. But yeah, I mean, statistics right now are a little bit startling. And 1 in 2 are knowing someone that is struggling with addiction. 1 in 2 people are on some sort of drug. That freaks me out for people driving on the roads. You think that many people are on drugs. How many people are driving like that? You know what I mean?
I do. And I'm thinking, as you're talking, I'm thinking of like what things would contribute to the gross acceleration. And so I was in Tallahassee. I've been to Tallahassee a few times with drug prevention days and things like that, and having appointments with congressmen, et cetera. And here's the thing. The lobbying for the drug companies, the lobbying for the marijuana industry, the lobbying for the Kratom people, the Kratom heads, the lobbying for blah, 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 and blah. And even now they're trying to get on different ballots that mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms would be a legal recreational drug. So we're in a very different environment.
Definitely different than even when I was growing up, because you didn't have a normalization of marijuana in society.
Correct.
I was still hiding behind my house smoking pot, hoping my mom didn't come home.
Right.
And that was like the worst thing you could do.
Right.
Now it's normalized to the point where parents smoke pot and are raising kids with a sort of like ethical or moral code. Like, this is fine. This is legal and it's okay. It's like a whole different ballgame. When it comes to mushrooms, there was a whole referendum that came out of Denver with legalizing psilocybin. And one of the things on the referendum was that it could be a viable solution to opioid addiction. At that point, I cringed.
They just throw that in there.
I clicked off.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was like, okay, you lost me.
I'm enraged now at the lies of it.
It's just, how could you? You want to elicit an emotional response from the mass public, talk about marijuana or kratom.
Yeah.
Because people have severe, incredible emotional responses to that, because it's held very near and dear for a lot of people that marijuana is this miracle cure for this, and kratom is this great replacement for opioids and stuff like that. It's like, stop. Everyone needs to like calm down, because we already know that there's parts of the marijuana plant that may have medicinal properties, but it's not THC. So no one needs to get high in order to get the medicinal properties. And kratom, there's been a lot of deaths linked to it.
That's
now
right.
That's coming up. I had to actually
Talk to parents. Talk to the parents of people who lost their
Yeah.
kids and what it did to them, and then say, you know, this should be near and dear to your heart to defend.
Yeah, there was an article that came out some months ago that said there's been way more deaths linked to kratom than have been actually reported, because usually when a person dies of of any kind of overdose, it's not usually just one drug involved. There's usually a few, and a lot of them were involving kratom, but they weren't being reported as such. They were being reported as some sort of like undesignated, you know, just opioid overdose. But it's like, no, let's look at the big picture of what that person had in their system.
That's right. And then
So-
the thing is, if that other one wasn't there to, you know,
Accelerate the rest of them.
exactly, then you can't say it didn't affect it
Right.
because it was there.
Yeah, most opioid overdoses involve a synthetic opioid with other drugs. So, like fentanyl. We all know that fentanyl kills people left, right, and
That's
center
right.
to the point where they now have elephant tranquilizer style drugs going around in the class of fentanyl. They're finding their ways in the drug supplies. It's a scary world out there. You could not pay me to do drugs right now.
No.
And it's hard to think that I used to be an addict and would go through all that, because it's terrifying. It's honestly terrifying what's out there, because there's like a 9 out of 10 chance you probably overdose.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. It's a bit insane out there. And now we have more drugs to contend with than we used to.
Yeah, but you said the right word. You said the normalization of drugs or the normalization of marijuana. And the truth is, I was very active in trying to stop it here in Florida, even on the quote unquote medicinal route, because I knew very well what the format was. And when
Sure.
I say format, I mean an actual plan, a real plan to normalize the drug. And so when you said near and dear, it made me think, yeah. And when I would talk to people who had this near and dear defense of it, guess what? They didn't want to smoke it themselves. They weren't pot smokers, and they were like these, you know, quote unquote educated, higher IQ individuals, but the campaign and the lobbying and the platform was so good and so effective that it did hit the hearts of people. And I believe that that's what's going on with the kratom thing as well.
Yeah, any good marketing campaign is going to emotionally affect someone.
Yeah.
That's how you know you
That's
have a good.
what the point is.
That's how you know you have a good marketing
That's
campaign.
why you hired them.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, drugs being normalized in our society is a real thing. And it's not just in like, you know, the 20 or 30 something, you know, as far as an age group, it's transcending all age
Oh, yeah.
ranges.